Lesson 3. Today lesson will go through LO3. As you know me, my name is Anjum Sata. Please, if you have any question, drop me email anjum@ukversity.co.uk and I'll try my best to get back to you as soon as possible. So today lesson, our focus will be on LO3, learning outcome 3, and we'll start in 2 minutes. Please, if you have any question, drop me email anjum@ukversity.co.uk. Thanks for joining, and let's see now. Can we look few minutes, please, what we learned under LO1 and LO2? Today we'll go through LO3, learning outcome 3. Okay, I'll share with you slides and then we'll start. Okay, welcome everyone. Let's we'll start. Hope so you can see the slide. Okay, as you know me, my name is Anjum, and let's we'll start our LO3, understand how to gather evidence when completing assurance engagement. We discuss about the positive and negative assurance. We said Aditya never gave the absolute assurance, and during last lesson we discuss about, especially our discussion was about different types of risk, and we discuss internal control. So today the heavily focus is about assurance engagement. Okay, so we discuss about audit risk, inherent risk, control risk, and we discuss different types of internal control. Always good to be think about what you know, scale 1 to 10. Always good to reflect, before assurance process and the technique assurance. Assurance procedure, sampling, testing, assurance procedure for not profitable organization, different stages requirement, including planning and collecting appropriate evidence, for completion of an assurance engagement, a review, reporting, a qualification reports, and impact on the legal. That's, all which we'll go through during our lesson 3.1. Discuss the reason for preparing documentation, stages, gathered evidence, review, different methods of obtaining evidence, and we'll discuss about assurance engagement, why it's important, and that's all will be in our discussion. Okay, let's please we'll start. Okay, so in audit assurance engagement, that's carried out by the auditors and independent opinion. So main thing auditor won't be depends on, auditor should be independent, so his view and should be true and fair. So that's is very, very crucial. We need to be make sure. Hello, can you hear me? Okay, so assurance engagement is very, very crucial, and we need to be make sure that's So we have the Company Act 2006. All the company have an audit. Small company turnover is less than 10.2, asset is 5.2. Dominant companies, listed entities, banks, assurance. So they have to be do external audit and provide the assurance the company accounts is being prepared accordingly. So auditors are required to produce a report, and the shareholders and must express their opinion whether the financial statement is producing true and fair in the light of the law, in the light of okay, an assurance engagement is the practitioner which is accountant express the conclusion designed to enhance the degree of the confident intended user other than the responsible party about the outcome or the evaluation of the measurement. So which we can look around in the case of audit definition with work, like the practitioner is the details, intended user is the owner, shareholder, responsible party is the manager, the subject matter which is given as a financial statement, criteria is accounting standard and the legal requirement in the light of. So reasonable assurance is a high level assurance, limited assurance, the reasonable assurance which is stated that negatively. So we need to be make sure that details give the assurance that meet the needs and the wants of the various intended users. So that's the key which we need to be inherently limitation, subjective judgment by director. Director may not give the full information to a detail and the detail rely on the information. The possibility that the fraud has been concealed and the sampling so evidence is persuasive, not conclusive. So we need to be make sure. So when we looking the financial statement, accountability cover a range of issues and discuss under the corporate governance. Corporate governance mean how the company run and govern in the light. And there are various corporate governance reports available. So we need to be make sure in the light of we filled all the legal requirements. So we can look around assurance provisions, communication needed. Directors required the produce the financial statement given a true and fair use. Encourage the communication with the shareholder. Director pay going concern. Management of risk. That is very very crucial. And assurance provision, assurance engagement. Professional accountant evaluates the measure the subject matters on the basis of suitable criteria, express opinion and give the user level of assurance. Okay. Secretary audit, which is required by the law, and non-secretary audit, the purpose of the audit to give an opinion on financial statements solely to report the shareholders, the secretary statement requirement by the company act. And the non-secretary audit, which is the details, can also give opinion on other statements. So the advantages of the non-secretary audit, give an example for setting account and partnership accounts have acceptance to the tax authorities for sales of the PA businesses and for negotiation. We can look around the audit to give the high level of assurance and review stated that anything come to attention of the details and the focus on the materiality uh, that the accountant may not given true and fair views and less details than the audit and less assurance obtained. Inherent internal audit which we need to be implied by the organization and part of the internal control responsible determined by the management and help. So these are the crucial points, guys, of we need to be make sure keeping in mind when we dealing with the trust and the fairness is one of the crucial elements. Editors give opinion on the trust, and we need the fairness, factual, free from errors and free, reflective the commercial substance of transaction, not opinion, absolute correctness, and obtain the evidence test basis, and cannot be absolute assurance due to the inherently limitation in the audit. So when we doing assurance reports, the limitation of the audit is not objective, it's a judgment that have to be made. Not every item in the financial statement is attested. So limitation in the accounting and the control system and audit, inherently limitation. Audit reports issuing long time, after. So we can embed, a lot of, the issues we have in the audit, a lot of new standards arrive after the Enron scandal. So we have to look around those perspectives as well. So we have a IFA International Standard of Assurance 500 audit evidence state the editor should obtain the sufficient appropriate audit evidence to able to draw the reasonable conclusion on the basis of the audit opinion. So those need to be sufficient quantity. Yes, obtain appropriate, the audit evidence must be necessary, the quality both relevant and reliable, sufficient as determined by the number of the factors and materiality being examined details, the knowledge and judgment, relevant evidence is required that the will enable the editors to draw the conclusion on financial statement. Reliable editors should consider the source and reliability when external and original. So then please, transaction events, we need to look around the occurrence, we look the completeness, accuracy, cut up date, classification, asset being the liability being classified and the current, non-current, exactly the same presentation. Those are accounting balances, existing right, obligation, who own the asset, who the legal obligation, completeness, accuracy, valuation, and allocation and classification and representation. That's the key point we need to be looking around. So we can look around the analytical procedure, inquiry, external confirmation, inspection of the document of asset observation and recalculation and the performance details can. So we look around the expert opinions or details need to be obtained, the sufficient appropriate evidence. That's quite crucial. Nature and the scope of the work agreed with the expert. Editor must evaluate the finding. Editor must assess the whether the expert competent and independent. The client assess appropriate of their exemptions. Look around, assess the consistency of the conclusions with the evidence obtained, and consider the reliability of such data. So please, we need to be looking on, although the objective of the internal and external audit differ, the objective are often similar. External editors must be obtained sufficient understanding of internal audit function, assurance, planning, development of effective audit approach. Really, we need to be look around. Internal audit also help to external audit and can be realized on the basis of the internal audit. Evaluation function, the organization status of internal audit, scope of internal audit, and we can look around a technical competency, due professional evaluation of the work, sufficient appropriate evidence, conclusion is valid and properly supervised and reviewed. So we can look around the test of the data, details, look these in the light of and put the dummy data and check the processes, ask draw the vouchers one, show me the processes, the software specifically designed for audit purposes used to checking and calculation and representation and de-performance and comparing analytical procedure. That's materiality, the material mean anything is the significant. Like if you're missing 10-pound transaction, maybe it's not significant. So all the material information or details need to be expression of the relevance, significant, important, the context and the financial statement as a whole. Material or the omissions really we need to be look around. Not capable. So we have to look around these. The both qualitative and quantitative need to be considered in the light of. That's quite crucial, which we need to be. And then level of assurance determined by the nature of the procedures, performing audit, responsible for assurance, review, negative assurance, agreed upon the procedures, and no assurance completion reports, so we need to be make sure. So please, we need to look around the audit acceptance. So planning, risk, materiality, natures of the work and timing, internal control, substantive compliance, testing, statement of the financial position, audit completion, including going concern, analytical procedure, reporting, and audit acceptance. That's really we need to be. We can look around the response to or a risk. Overall, the response, further the audit procedures and recorded audit plan, test of control, the substantive procedures, analytical procedures, test, the auditors must obtain the sufficient appropriate audit evidence on which the basis of audit opinion, affected, reliability. That is quite crucial, which would need to be test of control. This has already been dealt with the chapter 2. So, but remember that the details need to be evidence, but the such expect design operations. We can look around the role of the control, operating effectively, perform the test of control. That's also quite crucial, which we need to be look around some assertions, in accounts about the classification of the transaction, occurrence, complete, accuracy, cutoff, as we mentioned earlier, accounting balances, which can be existent, the right, obligation, completeness, accuracy, evaluation, classification. We can use the word So analytical procedures, inquiry, external confirmation, inspection, observation, recalculation, the performance, that's all we can conduct. Auditors carried out substantial procedures on the material item, and auditors never only based on the test of control their views, other their opinions. So we can look around analysis relationship between item the data. We can analytical procedures include the similar information, anticipated industries which we can risk is mean probability. So we have audit mean have the risk. In the previous lesson we discussed about control risk, inherent risk, audit reliable, relevant, and available. That's which we need to be ensure review, which we can significant fluctuations, make inquiries of the director, consider the management position in the light of carried out the additional audit procedures where necessary, payable purchase inventories, costs, non-current asset, depreciation, intangible asset, loans, interest, investment, receivable, recoverable. So we can look around the sampling. Sample is mean the small population. So we from the transaction we can tolerable misstatement, maximum amount of misstatement in the population. Editor will accept like 10% variation in the figures. What do you think? So we can look around statistical sampling involved, random selection of the item, non-statistical, maybe you use the convenience sampling, professional judgment, observation, or quota system. Okay, so size, consider the risk expectation, misstatement, which we can level of misstatements we have. We can test of control, which we can selection random, item equal chance, systematic, consistently interval, that chosen, and it will be, and guarding against the bias. We need to be evaluation. Auditors must analyze the misstatement sample, inference from the population, qualitative aspect of the misstatement should be considered, and extrapolated, which again the whole, the balances which we can. Nowadays, of course, we use computer aided techniques for audit. So audit software perform audit. Otherwise, had we do hand by hand and do the observation method, test the data. We can look around the balances, point of origin when the transactions are happening. The data must be valid, invalid, depending on the objective. Integrated test facilities, permanent testing environment, places, and the database. IS 500, sufficient appropriate evidence. We can look around the sufficient appropriate audit evidence. We can look around objective express opinion, audit evidence, information obtained, arrive. The conclusion evidence can be informed and test, which we procedures including the test of details, which we can classes of the transaction, account balances, disclosures, which we can. Okay, so financial statement assertions, which we need to be representations made, by directors. By approving the financial statement, director are making representation about information. We can look around transaction events. Is it occurrence, complete, accuracy, cutoff, classification, account balances, existing right and obligation, completion, valuation, presentation of the disclosure, occurrence, right, complete, completeness, classification, understandability, accuracy. That's also very, very important. So audit procedures, the inspection of the asset, inspection of the documentation, observations, inquiries, computer aided techniques which we can carry on using and overcome the lack of the visibility, efficiency, the effectiveness quite crucial, in audit software. The data is specific control for the specific characteristic. Simpler, smaller or entities, organization is difficult to obtain sufficient evidence. Completeness, internal controls may not be documented strongly, and substantive testing required, including testing substantial analytical procedures. So please, audit sampling usually seek the evidence less than 100%. IS 330 audit sampling and other means testing determine the appropriate means of selecting the item of testing, gather the appropriate, evidence, statistically based the sampling, non-statistic, based the sampling, sample size, what will be, consider the risk of, and acceptance level, whatever, and any errors that will need to be considered. Okay, details need to be keep the working papers, audit performed, partner review, adequate, and detailed work done, future reference, audit planning and control, engage, encourage, the vehicle approach, that leads to the better qualified auditing IS 230 audit document, and sufficient appropriate test of control, substantial procedures, reliability, audit testing designed to fulfill the audit assertion, not less than 100% evidence is usually obtained. All audit must be documented. And that's, the key point: audit opinion, sufficient, appropriate, relevant, reliable, the source is existent, timing, sampling, those are you using, those are appropriate, for drawing. So please, if you want to further to read and enhance your understanding, so please, we have available, if you want to log in on open tuition and look around F8 of ACC exam, which is about audit and assurance. That's quite good to be further enhanced, So if you want, please, some article that's quite crucial, ACC article on audit sampling, audit design, audit. So it's quite good, further you can enhance. So that's all from my end. Thanks for attending to this session, and we discuss about our LO3, and the next lesson will go through LO4. Have a lovely weekend, and I'll speak to you next week. And please, you can look around 5 minutes and go through. If anyone any question, you can feel free, drop me email anjum@ukversity.co.uk. So today lesson was heavily focused on audit engagement, evidence, existence, materiality, risk, audit details, draw the opinion and the base of, and we discuss about all the procedures. Sampling is very, very important, and make sure is a probability, random sampling or quota sampling or convenience sampling. Is it represent the population? And we can draw, under international standard of assurance 500, 530, all we discuss, today lesson. And thanks for attending. Have a lovely weekend. Bye bye.